getting to today's subject, I have some interesting things to share. A small introduction about personal coaching. I think the word coaching is less offensive to people when it is compared to saying counseling. When you say that I'm providing the personal coaching and this person is a personal coach, due to the stigma around us, our agenda as a mental health professional, I think, should be to reach out to people and give people that comfort zone where they can come and participate in the process of counseling, take help, talk to people, get the necessary support they require to deal with their whatever they are going through. So if that term counseling is going to be a barrier, I think coaching can be a milder term to be used to just make people comfortable. And that is one of the reason that we as psychologists don't call people patients unless we are working in a hospital. I've been working in a hospital for a long time. For certain reasons, like to refer to patients, doctors use the term patients, and thereby we also tend to use that term. But in a private practice, or when I am going as a consultant to a organization, can be a government or a private, to an NGO, wherever, we use the term client rather than using the term patient. So coaching, this kind of coaching, today we're exclusively looking at emotional regulation. So what is this emotional regulation? What are we trying to do here is channelizing the emotions. So I can feel different kind of emotions, a variety of emotions like anger, sadness, frustration, even happy emotions like excitement. But when I'm feeling those emotions, how do I manage them is the challenge for each of us. So in emotions can be segregated into positive as well as negative emotions. So you can just have a look at the different emotions that people are going through in this picture. Take a look at it. You can find emotions like excitement, loneliness, success, togetherness, sadness, anger, extreme aggression. So this can be differentiated based on how we look at it, how I'm perceiving that particular emotion. It can be something positive according to how I am interpreting things, how I am making an understanding of things, and it can be negative where I feel not so good. I don't feel good about it. So that's how our mind is distinguishing emotions. And all of us go through different kinds of emotions because it's a emotional roller coaster. So in the chat box, you can just give some emotions that you feel for these scenarios. It's just a kind of interactive activity that we are going to do. A guy bought a branded headset. In 2 months, one side didn't work, and out of whatever emotion, he broke it. So, what is that emotion? Can you please put it in the chat box? What is that emotion that that guy could have felt? Yes, anger. Later, he found that the product had 1 year warranty. So now, he bought it, and in 2 monthsலயே ஒர்க் ஆகாம போயிடுச்சு அப்படின்னு ஒரு ஆங்கர்ல வந்து he broke it. Later on, after his anger subsides, he's still looking at it. Then there is 1 month, 1 year warranty. And what is the emotion he can feel at this point of time? Can you put it? Yes, guilt that I broke it. Definitely. And thinking, yeah, yes. So let us look at another incident. A bike didn't start while going for work. So that person is kicking the bike again and again. And finally, he kicked it down. He kicked it down and threw a stone on it. And what is that emotion he went through? He's already maybe getting late to office, and the bike didn't cooperate according to him. What is that emotion that he could go through? Please type the emotion. Disappointed? Okay. So why did he kick the bike and throw a stone on the bike? Loss of trust? Okay. Anyone else? Anger and frustration. Okay. Anger and fear. Okay. So evening after he gets back, feeling cheated. Okay. Evening, he comes back, and he finds that there's no petrol in the bike, and that's why the vehicle didn't start. But now, if only he didn't kick the bike and throw a stone on it out of anger, it would have only been the petrol charge for him. Now he already threw it down, and he has also caused damage, and now he needs to spend on it. So, what emotion will he feel now at this point of time? Sorrow, okay. Regret, yes, definitely. Okay. So, the next is a real incident which my senior shared with me. A prisoner, she's a prison psychologist. So, sorry, due to some noise, I had to mute. So the in this case, she's a prison psychologist, and this prisoner, um, she narrates the story of this prisoner to us, and she shared that he's a very common, like this person, this particular individual is a common man like you and me, and one day he ends up in the jail, and the reason why he ended up in a jail is he killed his manager. So while he killed someone, this is an extreme case. What kind of emotion do you think that would have caused him to kill the manager? Not guilt. Nobody kills a manager out of guilt, no? Aggression. Yes. He was angry. He could not control at the moment. He killed the manager, his frustration. So the mother was the person's mother has been unwell for quite some time, and the mother he wanted leave to meet the mother, but due to whatever the scenario at the office was, particular the manager did not permit him to go on leave, because I think as an employer or in whatever hierarchy he is, he would look at the need of the particular concern or company first, and other things comes next to him. Maybe he didn't know the seriousness of the case as well. So no, he refused permission, and the mother died. So, what emotion do you think that this particular person would have gone through when he asked for leave and then it is refused, and now his mother passed away? What emotion he would have gone through after he heard the news that the mother passed away? Extremely angry. Okay. Other than that, anything else? Fear, or I mean, it could be sorrow, no? Mother died. Deep pain, feeling dominated, helpless, yes. Anxiety, what to do next? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Because he also wouldn't have expected that the mother would die. It was that kind of a scenario. So, out of rage, he slit the manager's throat. Yes, out of revenge, yes. Yeah, he could be depressed at the moment. Yes. So, whatever be the scenario, now what has happened? If he could have used the emotions in a little bit intelligent way, yes, it happened. If he made a mistake, he can like at that moment go and attend to whatever ceremonies he need to attend, and then come back, and he could also raise the ticket against that particular manager. He could have fought with him verbally. No, he could even give a resignation, he could drop a paper, whatever it is, and like damage done is already happened. Now you react to it and cause more damage by killing the manager. The manager also has a family, so they are affected. Now one person is not alive. His mother was in old age, but a middle-aged man is not alive now. Mother died out of illness. Manager did not kill the mother. Mother had some illness. She could not survive. She passed away. Yes, and then he spoiled his own life. What else he has to do now? He's convicted for murder, and clear cutly he did it openly. So he would have got an imprisonment. So that's the case. So the need to act with a little more of intelligence when we are getting emotional is very important, and that is what we are talking about today. That is our topic today. And this another. In the beginning, I was just going through simpler cases, yeah, and simpler, just giving you simpler examples. These are a little more intense emotions that people can actually go through, and this is what we are seeing in day-to-day life. Like example 4, when someone has a love failure. Now this we frequently see in the news, and whether I open Insta or Facebook or some reels I'm watching. Many times I watch news. So I think when you're watching news, generally news only pops up to you. So there'll be some news where there was a love failure. So the partner doesn't, when the partner doesn't want the other person, what do you think the emotion they will go through? Sadness, yes. And some people feel neglected. The person has rejected me. Some people may feel rejection, may feel as an insult, maybe feel insecure. Abandonment, deception, yes, she cheated me or he cheated me. Anger, confusion, anxiety. Just give me a second. Yeah. So finally, what they end up doing is killing the partner. Frequent news of killing the partner because for so many years she was in love with me. Mostly we can see it in uh, men. They feel like rejected or the whole world is gone and that woman is yeah, resentment has cheated me now. So let me kill myself. Um, Killing the partner and killing myself. This also was a pattern at a period of time. Now, very strangely, there are some intense cases where, like we saw in the news, that a woman killed her boyfriend by burning him. Whatever be the reason, if you're angry, if you have something against them, then it's better to. There are many ways in to deal with it. Many ways in which to deal with it. Just move away, maintain boundaries. Such things can be done, but then this is not acceptable. And even in many cases of extramarital affair, the husband killed the wife, and then came to the station with the head, cut the neck, and came with the head in the hand. It's not a victory. Whatever term sentence the person needs to face, the person will face. After that, what about your life? If at all they have marriage in that relationship, what to do with the children now? So the parents are the people who brought children into the world. So as responsible adults, what will be our role is a question here. So here comes the need for emotional intelligence, and when we are working as a personal coach with people, and we are able to see patterns where they are unable to handle certain things because of their emotional highs and lows, it's important for us to teach our client emotional regulation. What is the most important thing is to identify the most predominant emotion in the last 7 days that individual has experienced, and to name the emotion. And we use visual arts. So as mentioned, expressive arts therapy, we use different modalities, and one such modality of expressive arts is visual arts. In visual arts, what we do is we give activities like shading, drawing, coloring, painting, and provide people with those materials also. And sometimes it could be clay modeling also, when there is an availability for us to get that real sand, mud clay, that could be facilitated in certain workshops where I attended. I did my expressive arts therapy in 2011, I suppose, at Women's Christian College. When we did the program, our facilitator and our trainers, for every modality we had trainers, and this particular course is like quite recent in India as well. It's been a little um, popular by 1980s, not before that. And it was Palo Nil who put everything together. Already it existed as pieces like visual arts, dance separately, music therapy, drama, clay modeling, play therapy, there's other advanced modalities like psychodrama, storying, creating stories, and directing stories. These kind of work we do. So when it's an emotion, here in this particular activity, I'm just teaching you that when you meet with a client, you can just ask them to recollect the predominant emotion over the past 7 days, and give that particular emotion an image, and ask them to speak more about that emotion. For example, in cognitive behavioral therapy, what we do is we try to work on thoughts. When thoughts of that individual is changed, they're able to bring a change in the thought, then automatically the feeling changes and the behavior changes. Here in expressive arts therapy, we are working directly on the emotion. If there is a change in the emotion, what will happen automatically? The thought as well as the behavioral outcome of that individual will be like will align in whatever they want to do in life. So we as a facilitator are a support system to that individual. As a coach, I will be a support system to my client to explore and reach where he or she wants to reach, and whatever is the agenda of the counseling, why they came to us. So this is one such activity which can be done. And can we do something? We'll just recollect the most predominant emotion that we went through in the last 7 days. I would like to go first. I'll put it on the chat box. What was I going through? And I'll give you the reason why there was a lot of tension, because everything, everything in the sense, some important major things, like I'm working on my dissertation. My dissertation work, Viva, um, came together, and at the same time, we are planning for a outdoor in July. It's an international workshop that we are organizing. So I need to supervise from booking tickets to rooms to the visa process to whatever. No, that is going on in my head. When I take up something, I should finish it in a right way, that it goes on well, and people whoever have joined me are feeling comfortable. I'm the facilitator of the program, so I'll be making the necessary modality preparation for them. So I'll have to do some work, and to provide them the study material. All that is going on one side. On the other side, still I have my own counseling appointments, my own classes, other things. And we just finished the life coach training. Life coach training includes personal coaching. Personal coaching is one modality of life coaching, but in life coaching, we will have other modalities like relationship coaching, health coaching, career coaching, what else, all these are major. And personal coaching is like the priority, where individual works on themselves on various areas, like where they need motivation, for people lacking confidence and self-esteem, and no, communication, assertive communication. So I need certain things, I don't hurt other people, at the same time I don't compromise on my needs, but I have to communicate to people using the right words. And this kind of emotional regulation is the need of the hour, I feel, because that is where we are lagging in. Many of us can be intelligent people, But when it comes to emotions, some we lose out on our intelligence. That has happened with me as well. So when I mentioned tension, along with all these things, everything came together unexpectedly. The dates all came together, and at the same time, I have my own personal roles to do at home. So that everything together was a little overwhelming for me, that I would say. One thing is tension, another is overwhelming. So when you ask me to name the emotion, I named it as tension. When you ask me about the emotion, this is the story behind my emotion. So this is the kind of work that you would be doing with your client. So I didn't receive your emotions. Name your emotion. Let us make it quick. Last 7 days, what was the most predominant emotion? Happiness. Very good. Okay. Okay. So all of us, as I mentioned earlier, go through different kind of emotions. It's not that all of us are always going through um, negative emotions. It's not that all of us are always going through positive emotion. Generally, it's a mixture. But here, the question which I asked is what was predominant. Some people maybe it could have been predominant for you for this past 1 week. Okay, so some of you could have had sadness, excited. Yeah, it was a mixed emotion for some of you. Okay, fine. So this is a way in which you can ask your client to depict it, to draw it. There is no particular method to bring it to picture. However they feel, however they are expressing, whatever color they are using, however they are choosing to do that artwork, so that is their representation, and they are not getting judged for what work they are doing, but we are using it as a basis to ask more questions. So the blue shades on this particular paper, what do they indicate? I can just ask. I'm just giving you an example. And some strong emotions they're showing, like blood and something disastrous like an accident, they're portraying that now. So when we see that, what does it indicate? What happened in your life? And like, speak more about what were you going through. So this is a way in which we help that individual to connect with their inner emotions. What am I really feeling? Which will actually facilitate a lot of venting for them. And only after emotional clouding is cleared, the individuals will be able to get in touch with their thoughts. Until then, asking an individual to think this way, give motivational thoughts to motivational ideas, suggestions to work on thoughts sometimes fails when there is emotional clouding and it is not yet cleared. So, this is something that you can actually use as a technique. So, as I just explained to you, what is this emotional regulation about? So, an individual's ability to exert and have a control over their emotional state, it's very important for us to have a control over our emotional state. When I have awareness that I'm going through tension, whenever I have awareness that I'm going through tension, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to work on it and strike a balance. Because if I'm tensed, I would be keeping people around me tensed, which is not healthy for me. It's not a healthy emotion, is something that I'm bringing to my awareness, and that would be radiating. I would be radiating that to people around me, which is not a good thing. So when I have that awareness, definitely I'll not make a choice to stay in that emotional state. I'll try to keep myself a little more relaxed by doing some kind of methods which make me feel relaxed. So that way. Maybe sitting and like for me, I generally, when I feel like it's overwhelming, there are too many tasks at a time. So in this particular whatever I explained to you, what I did was I just jotted down things. We use this magic matrix slip where it we put on things which is very important and very urgent in one box. Very important, very urgent. Next box, very important but not urgent. The third box, not important, not urgent. Fourth box, it's not that I do all the work, but I delegate the work. So I have a few people who work for me for technical support and for helping me with facilitating other programs which happens in our center, so on. So I just distribute the work and not take the whole burden on myself. This is just an example of how we can just try to keep ourselves um, in a better emotional state when we realize that we are not in a healthy state of mind. So such suggestions we can give it to whomever we're working with, and it would work best when we are first working on ourselves. We can be therapists, we can be counselors, we can be a coach, but still it's very important for us to have a watch on our own emotional state of mind. So, this kind of an activity, which I just suggested, picturizing that particular emotion and speaking more about it, will definitely reduce whatever that individual is going through, whether it is anger, anxiety, and no, and not everybody exposes everything when they talk verbally. When I talk to you verbally, maybe I'm not able to express exactly that I'm feeling anxious. But when I'm drawing, I'm able to maybe bring that out. I'm able to bring in more information, which will also help the counselor or the coach to guide them in a better way and help that particular individual to focus on being um, calm, experience tranquility and serenity, put them in that kind of state to help them to get into that kind of state of happiness by teaching them the appropriate ways. We generally facilitate clients to focus on strengths. We ask them how would they work on the obstacles, and then we help them to problem solve. We don't problem solve for them, but we help them to problem solve. We empower them with more methods to cope with whatever they're going through in that current situation. These are some things that we can do as a life coach. Yeah, definitely your thoughts and emotions are not your enemy. It's okay to feel not okay. It's not that every time I have to be okay and perfect. I can be anyone. I can be anyone playing any role in life, but it's not possible for anyone to say that 24 bar 7 I'm in a happy state of mind. So that is why our emotion is telling us something. Something is not okay with me. So it is sometimes okay to be not okay. So I respect myself, I respect my emotions, and it's okay to be in that state of emotional, um, whatever emotion I'm going through. I will be in that state, but I will try to recover from it. I can have a setback, but I will bounce back. I can have a setback, but I will bounce back. So we humans are social beings, and we are trained in certain ways. And saying that never experience negative, you have to be positive, that's not possible because it sometimes Everything is not intrinsic, it doesn't come from within. From within always I can generate happiness and peace, but sometimes it just happens when we are working with a combination of people in a team. When we are working, certain disturbances can come from outside. Not every person in our life is a healthy of healthy mind. So sometimes if we feel we are experiencing a little bit of or some amount of toxic behavior from someone, or toxicity towards you from that particular individual or from that particular organization, whatever, we are put in a situation where we have to generate the positivity only from within ourselves and maintain boundaries with people. So, at that time, I can go through a little bit of negative emotion or some loss that we experience. It could be a love breakup, it can be a marriage breakup, or it can be the loss of a loved one, anything. So at that time, I cannot say my client don't experience negative emotion, only experience positive emotion. I should encourage my client to vent out the negative emotions that they're going through, and I will never judge or say that this is a negative emotion that you're going through. Including animals, when they're getting scared, maybe they hide. But later, when they see that the situation is a little better, they come out. Nobody is like going inside. Similarly, humans, when we're going through sadness or whatever, fear or whatever, it's not suggestible for us to shut ourselves inside for a period of time. Okay, for a day I'm upset, I stay at home, but the very next day it's very necessary for me to bounce back, because that's how life is. And we have certain responsibilities and roles. We cannot go and sit in a corner. We have different roles in life to play, as a professional, as someone who, everyone has a family, as a mother or a wife or a sister or a daughter-in-law. For a female, similarly for a male, he can be the CEO, he can be father to his kids, he could be playing responsible brother's role, responsible son's role, whatever. So it is not right for us to de-evaluate any kind of emotion that we feel that it is negative. I don't like that, I shouldn't feel this way. And anything, no, like we can never say that such kind of thoughts and feelings shouldn't exist. Like for saying, you are a man, you should always be strong, you should not cry. We told our men for many centuries this, and that is one of the reason why men don't cry and they push things inside, and that comes out in different ways as anger, or they also become passive at times. Sometimes we are forcefully pushing men into an expressionless state. So when it hurts, whether it is a male or a female, it's okay to cry. That is what I think we have to teach our future generation, and that is what we do in schools. Gender equality when it comes to expressing emotions, not depriving men from not crying and saying என்ன you're crying பொம்பளை மாதிரி அழுதுட்டு இருக்கியா, such statements. No, maybe one generation back they did it because they did not have awareness, but we have an important role in providing any kind of support where we are teaching people not to do this and facilitating men the space that they need. So, any particular emotion your client has told you that your client is going through, whether it is anger or frustration or sadness, even excitement. Out of excitement, some people they are not able to emotionally regulate excitement. Some people can get into excessive usage of alcohol. I'm very happy now. I'm giving treat party for all of you, please come, and spending money on it, and buying substance. I just met a boy who had a mental breakdown. Boy, in the sense, a middle, not a middle aged, a youngster, someone in 20s. So they all met up for a party before that breakdown happened, where he had given a treat to others. The reason why he gave a treat was his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, got married. His ex-girlfriend got married, so he has given treat to his friends. I don't know what is reason exactly, what he is feeling and why he has to give treat for his ex-girlfriend's marriage. So he had taken people to Goa, his friends. He had sponsored the trip, and he bought alcohol for everybody, and they also had used substance. Already cigarettes contain nicotine, along with it using other kind of drugs, something like some opioids, cocaine. Used it. And then others were fine, but this boy, maybe he was already genetically predisposed to some kind of psychiatric illness. He had a breakdown, and at that point, I had to refer him to a hospital because he was in a kind of state where he needed some immediate medical help. And later he got admitted, and he was treated because it was a little unmanageable for people to have him at home, repetitively speaking the same thing again and again, and he was hallucinating over various things. So such things, okay. So whatever the emotion is, we can, this is an extreme stage, case, but I'm talking about simpler cases where you can actually work on the emotion of that individual. When it is like some of you stated, even if it is happiness, even if it is happiness, or whether it is sadness or tension or frustration, we can encourage the client to shade, draw, or write. Writing also is like very good. To write about what I exactly feel, what I went through. Some people can have this innate skill of poetry, writing poetries. So that many of my clients do. And no, that's people who like literacy, people who are from this kind of backgrounds, no, like theater work and other thing and all. They enact and show, they write. So such things are like quite nice to interact and connect with. So what you want to get rid of from that negative emotion, just set the mind that I totally want to like get out of that emotion after doing that. So while doing the activity, we encourage the client to fully feel and express it. Fully feel that emotion and express it. So when they do it, they're expressing or spreading out all the negativity on that sheet of paper. And later, we ask that individual to tear that sheet of paper little by little, and while they're indulging in that act, they also are like holding in mind that they are just getting rid of all that negativity, whatever it is anger. I'm just letting it out. I'm letting it out. But that kind of a mind makeup, we make them do it. and towards the end they throw it in a bin. And being mindful of what they're doing at that moment. Later on, we ask them after this activity happens. This goes on like a drama. This goes on like a drama where they are expressing it. We encourage sometimes client to have conversation with that emotion by asking them to place it in a place where they want to. So many of them who are sitting will want to place that particular sheet of paper or model or whatever they have made on the chair next to them by turning it facing them. This I've seen in many cases. They want to talk, have a conversation with that emotion. Similarly, some want to burn, but I don't encourage it for safety reasons. Burn the paper or burn that model, such things. So later on, ask them, how do you feel now? And I think we should be a little careful and the proper kind of training before we administer these kind of tests are very important, I feel. So why I'm saying this is sometimes it can be risky. In a particular corporate, I had given this kind of an activity. So this particular person was having a conversation with one individual who hurt him very badly in life, and that is a kind of rolling chair. There were two rolling chairs. He was sitting in one, and there was another rolling chair where he had placed that character. So, out of anger, I told him, like, what would you like to do with that character if you really feel that the character is here? When I told him this, he just kicked the rolling chair. And in that particular room, it was actually a glass door, a semi translucent glass door through which you come in and you move out. Thank God nothing happened, but if at all there was some damage, I would have taken responsibility for it because it was, as I just mentioned, it was in a corporate company. So that way, with the proper training and also think about the consequences as a coach or a trainer before conducting these kind of activities, it is very important for us to be cautious. Okay, so until now, whatever we saw, if it was you felt that you got some new information, you can please give me a thumbs up. All right, thank you. So I just wanted to spread this message that the need for counselors is so much that wherever we have people, there is a need for people to interact, to support people. Even if we are someone from a non psychology background, we can be a barefoot counselor, get that basic training to provide emotional first aid for an individual and help them. But if you are going to use a little more in depth on coaching and other things, little bit of training from a already existing trained professional is very important for us to take it across and conduct these kind of sessions and help people in a more effective way. If you are a person who is empathetic, if you are a person who likes to be if you are a people person, you want to help people, you want to work with people, you want to bring a change and transition in your life as well as the people around you, this would be a very good choice for you to work on learning therapies to help people. This is what I wanted to communicate to you. If you have any queries, you can WhatsApp me and stay in touch in the groups in which we are. Yeah, thank you, all of you. Thank you so much. Let's meet up next week.